so today we're going to be talking about something that I see all the time when I'm talking to my clients, and that is comparison, okay? And what I find is that a lot of times when I can tell the signs that are kind of prevalent when I see somebody comparing themselves is I see some envy, I see some jealousy. Some people maybe are bitter, right? They start to get bitter about other people's fortunes. They start to kind of be judgy, right? We've all been judgy. Raise your hand. I know I have, right? And so one of the things is when we are looking external of us, right, and we're having those feelings kind of rise up in us, really, it's coming from the meaning that we're putting inside of us, right? There's a meaning in our head that we're telling ourselves about these people or what they're experiencing. And really, if we just get down to the nitty-gritty, it's because there's some insecurity there, right? There's some insecurity. There's some the pain of why not me? Okay, I'll share with you guys. So one of the things that I know for sure that I've experienced is comparing my weight loss journey to someone else. And I don't know if you guys can relate, but if you can, give me some thumbs up, some hearts as I'm sharing this story. But for a long time after I had my kids, I found myself very overweight. And I thought I tried. I mean, I tried to lose weight and I just could never really get the weight off. And I remember looking at other people and really being confused, right? Because they were eating more than me, or maybe they weren't working out, maybe they were just thin. And there was a part of me that really thought like, why? Like, and so, so sometimes I would be judgy about like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're eating that burger, or I would be judgy of like, she doesn't even exercise, and so I would get caught up in that horrible place of comparing my journey, my health journey to theirs. Have you ever felt yourself comparing your journey to somebody else? If so, in the comments right there in that little message box, write down yes. Because I know a lot of my clients come to me and they will start talking about a struggle, and before you know it, they are talking about somebody else. Like they're talking about their friend who doesn't have this struggle, or they start talking about their sister, or they start talking about that neighbor. Only 5 million times yes, okay? So we get so caught up, right? Looking externally, right? And it's coming from a place of not feeling good enough, right? Because we start to think, why not me? Like, why didn't I get that luck? This also goes with like financial, sorry, I see my earring just shining a lot of light to you, blinding you probably. But I see this a lot with money as well. Some people get really caught up in what other people have, right? I know for me, one of the things recently that happened is that everybody around us has, they've bought a new car for their kid, and we just are not in that place to buy a new car for my 16-year-old. And I found myself feeling like, oh my gosh, like, having him have my car that's used and paid for is not good enough, right? Other people are buying all these cars. And so what I'm saying here is I think it happens to the best of us, guys. I mean, I'm not sharing this because I want to bring shame. What I want to bring is awareness of like being able to identify those stories within us that get triggered by external sources. And if you are engaging in comparison, then there's a deeper work that needs to happen. Okay. And again, we're all on this path together. We are all on this together. And so I know that I've had to really look within me and said, like, okay, where is this coming from? And I think a good red flag for me, and I want to share that with you, is if you find yourself engaging in a lot of gossip and a lot of judgy behavior, putting people down, like, it's time to take, and I say this all the time to my clients. They roll their eyes when they see me do this, but maybe not. But I always say, let's put away the magnifying glass and let's take out a mirror. Okay? When you are finding yourself in that chaotic behavior that's negative, that makes you feel icky, right? It's time to pull out a mirror and really look at, like, what's underneath. Where is this coming from? And for the example of my son, of like not being able to get a new car and all that, I had to kind of look in and peel the onion. And I thought to myself, is that making you feel like, what's the feeling? What's the meaning that you're putting to that insecurity, that comparison? And for me, it was like, oh, I must not be a good mom. And when you say it out loud, it's like, it's just ridiculous. Like, me not buying a new car for my kid has zero to do with being a good mom, right? Like, that is a financial decision. Like, it has nothing to do with like less love or whatever. And once I got clear on that, right, I was able to really be in a better place with it. So that's what, one of the things that I want to encourage you is, if you find yourself really stuck and judging people and putting them down and criticizing, then it might be time for you to ask yourself that question, like, what meaning am I putting out there? What does it make me think when I see somebody that has more money, or maybe they've lost more weight than me, if you're on a weight loss journey? Like, I know for me, when I was struggling with weight, I felt like there was something wrong with me, right? Like, you start to think, what is wrong with me? And sometimes that, one of the things that I wrote in my book is that comparison is rarely motivational. Okay. It is very, very rare that when we compare our story to somebody else, that we get motivated to change. Instead, it actually causes the opposite effect. We will start to feel, and this is again sometimes happening in the background. Sometimes you don't even have awareness that this is happening. But when we start to compare ourselves to someone, there's a couple of things that happen. One is we start to kind of distance ourselves from that, right? We kind of start to distance, which, if we distance ourselves from something that maybe internally we want, right? We want to lose weight, or we want to have more money, more income, or we want to be able to have better relationships, right? Whatever that is, right? That we're like pushing away because it makes us feel uncomfortable, because it brings about all this envy, right? All this judgment on ourselves. Then we're not going to get closer to it. We're not going to get closer. We're actually going to get further from it. So this is why a lot of times, okay, when you're trying to lose weight and you start seeing somebody else lose weight and you're not losing weight, a lot of times that causes you to just say, throw your hands up in the air and say, you know what, I don't care. Is that a song? And you go and get that Big Mac, and you just binge. You get the nachos, and you're just like, what's the point, right? So it causes you actually to give up on yourself. When it comes to finances, sometimes if you really are critical of people with more money than you, sometimes it causes you to like not surround yourself with that. And if there's one thing I have learned about money mindset, about being more financially stable, is that you actually want to be in that environment. You want to surround yourself with people that are affluent, because they actually have the secret sauce. They know that energy where money likes to grow, right? So if you are wanting to have more money, then you want to make sure that you surround yourself in environments that really promote that abundance instead of pushing it away. And that's what comparison does. Comparison causes us to be so overwhelmed and shamed about where we are, that we start to feel like we're not enough, we're not good enough, it's not for me, right? Is this making sense, guys? Give me a little yes on the comments so that I know that I'm making sense to you. This is something that you are relating to. Hi, everyone. Come on in. We're talking about comparison and how bad it can be for really helping you live your best life, right? Yes, I see some thumbs up. Okay, so here's what I want to do. So all that to say that I have three mantras that I use on a daily basis. So deep rooted from childhood, really. Yes. Oh my gosh, Colleen, thanks for saying that. This, I am not enough. It's not something that just pops up just because you see somebody have a better car, right? This comes from our childhood and our circumstances and the meaning that we're putting on that. If you grow up with minimum money in your family, you tend to, yes. And not only you tend to envy some, but you feel like it's not for you. I think that is the bigger key here, is that it's not about just that envy where you're like, oh my gosh, they have more and I wish I had it. No, it's actually deeper than that. It's coming from a place of like, it's only for them and not for me. And when you give that meaning, yeah, exactly. When you give that meaning, right, to like, it's for everybody else, it's for the affluent, it's for the lucky people, then where do you go from that? Where do you go when you start to adopt that meaning of it's not for me? Nowhere. Like, there's no other, like, it's like you give up, you throw in the towel, right? Because you're thinking to yourself like, well, it doesn't matter if I eat healthy. It doesn't matter if I work really hard. It's not going to get me that money. It doesn't matter if I have dreams because it's not for me. Those relationships, maybe you envy people that have a lot of friends and you're like, you know what? That's not for me. Like, I talk to so many of my clients that have like really hard beliefs about what they can do, right? Like, they will say to me, well, no, that's just who I am. And one of the things that I talk about in my book, and I ask this question, and I'm going to give this to you. It really comes down to asking ourselves, is that the truth we want? Like, is that the truth we want to continue to believe in, that it's not for me? I don't know about you guys, but I know in the last maybe five years, I have really started to really even more profoundly ask myself, why not me? Like, why not me? Yes, actually, that is for me. And I've started to put myself in situations where it's deeply uncomfortable. It's deeply uncomfortable because I too had, we have stories, we have layers of I'm not good enough, right? I talk about that in my book of like just feeling like it's not for me. And we've made meanings in our heads based on our experiences. But the truth is, guys, is that we have everything we need within us to create that. And I'll tell you what, if I gave this this tip to one of my clients this week, and I said this: if you are envying something, if you are kind of judging something, I really believe that it's coming from a place of an internal pull to create it in your own life. So if you find yourself always criticizing people that are healthier than you, guess what? That is spirit guiding you to get healthier. Like, stop looking outside, but start focusing on that's something that is within me and I can create it. If you are, again, envying creating people with more money, guess what? Then that means that there's a desire within you to create that. So then we have to, that's a whole different Friday tip, is how do we create that, right? But I want you to really start to become aware of when you are in those behaviors, become curious about them. Why is it that I feel so bad when I'm around that person? Why is it that I feel so, that I want to reject that experience, right? Or why is it that I'm feeling like all this judgment towards that woman or that family, right? Or that marriage or whatever that is, start to really inquire, because here's the thing, like I said in the beginning, it's time to put that magnifying glass away, right? That's what we're doing when we're comparing ourselves. We're putting the magnifying glass, and it's really time to take out the mirror and ask, what's the meaning that I'm giving this? Because once you identify that meaning, then you're in the driver's seat, and you have the power to say, why not me? If that's what you want, why not you, right? So I want to share with you 3 mantras that I use all the time to help me get my mind right. That's kind of what I say. I need to get my mind right. If I'm having all these feelings, negative thoughts, I want to make sure, like, what can I do to get my mind in the right place so that I can live my best life, so that I can focus on what actions, what thoughts I need to engage in to help me move forward instead of being stuck and paralyzed in envy and overwhelm. How does that sound? Do you guys want to hear the 3 mantras I use? Are you ready? If you notice, if you're more interactive with me in my lives, it actually helps me, right? Because it actually, the algorithm sends it to other people, and I just want to make sure my message gets to everyone, because I think it's really helpful. I trust my tips are life-changing. So I love doing this for you guys. I put a lot of time into my Friday tips. So that's how you can help me, is by being interactive in my videos. Even if you're watching on the replay, share them. If you found a nugget that you're like, oh my gosh, this was so good, I want to share it with people, share it so that it could just get more views, and really so that messages get to the right people, right? Okay. So the 3 mantras. So one of the things, and this is my favorite one, I will say it all the time, every day, and that is, stay in your lane, Diana. And I remind myself, if I'm looking outward and I'm thinking like, oh my gosh, look, that person, especially in my business, right? Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, they made a lot of more money, or oh my gosh, they have more video, more content, more websites, more whatever. I remind myself, stay in your lane, focus on what you're doing, focus on the work that you're bringing to the table. And it always makes me feel so much better when I just like focus on my lane. What is it that is my mission? How do I show up? What can I control within my lane? Okay. So that is a mantra. What I mean by mantra is kind of like an affirmation, is something that you say over and over in your head to kind of get your mindset so that you can choose the thoughts instead of letting the thoughts choose you. The second one is, if I'm really having a lot of envy or judgment about one person in particular, usually I use this one when I'm referring to one person, I will say to myself, sending them love and light, sending them love and light, sending them love and light. And I just try to remind myself, like, when I'm in envy and when I'm in judgment, I'm sending hate and judgment and negativity. Like, that doesn't make me feel good. So when I start to really visualize sending them like all the light, all the love, and I'm taking deep breaths, and it just shifts my mood about it. It really makes me feel so much better. Okay. Yes, I love that. That care emoji there. Okay. And then the third one, and this one sometimes, guys, brings me to tears, is I will start to use the phrase, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And this one is because a lot of times when we're in comparison, like I said earlier, and what Colleen was referring to, it's that childhood wound. It's that deeper, like, just that heart connection of not feeling good enough, right? Why not me? Like, it's not for me, all that stuff. And so when I'm feeling like, oh my gosh, like I'm putting all this effort and nothing is happening, like what can I do? I remind myself, and I use that mantra, I am enough. I am enough. I am enough. And sometimes I will even walk into the mirrors and use my mantras inside a mirror, in front of a mirror, so that I can kind of symbolically do what I say, is put away the magnifying glass, stop looking at the other lanes, stop looking at everybody else, what they're doing, how they're functioning, like all their blessings. Like, stop that and really bring it in. And when I stand in front of the mirror and I do my mantras, it really helps me shift my mindset, and it brings me so much more inner peace. So those are the 3 mantras. Write them down. Obviously, I suggest that you can use any mantras that feel powerful to you. I just think sometimes if you're not in the routine of using mantras, you can struggle to come up with them. So you're free to use mine. I'm sure I got them from somebody else, because mantras, like affirmations, I mean, it's just, you know, whatever feels good to your soul and your spirit and kind of helps you feel better, then you know that it's a good mantra for you to use. Okay, guys, we're coming up to time. I didn't wear my watch today, so I have no idea how long I've had you here, but I do appreciate you popping in here and listening to my Friday tips. I trust that these are really helping you, impacting your life for a positive. Again, please don't forget to share this with your friends or your people. If it was something that you took a nugget from it, I want to make sure that that my message reached more people. So feel free to share or comment. Even if you're watching on the replay, guys, I love my people that come back and watch it on the replay. So feel free to interact. I always come back and check on comments. Do you guys have any questions? Any questions before I let you guys go and enjoy your Friday? I think what I'm gonna do, actually, I was thinking next week, and you guys can tell me if you guys would like this. I think next week I'm going to do a Q&A during my live. So I think that's what I'm gonna do for next week, because sometimes with the delay, it's really hard to answer questions. So if you have questions, I think I've just made a decision since I'm announcing it. Next Friday, it's going to be Q&A, and you can send your questions to me, and I'll be addressing about anything. I mean, anything. You can send me a question and we can, I can address it. I'll pick certain questions to address on my next week's live. All right, guys, you guys have a great Friday. Take care.